I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I want to tell my story because maybe someone out there needs to hear it. It all started a few months ago when I was deployed overseas with the military. My wife, Lisa, was supposed to be holding down the fort back home, taking care of the house, our dog, and just generally waiting for me to come back. We'd been together for almost 6 years, and honestly, I thought we had a good thing going. Sure, she could be bitchy sometimes and a little manipulative, but I figured that was normal for her. Still, I trusted her. At first, everything seemed fine. We'd text and call every day, she'd send me pictures from her day, and I'd do the same. But then little things started to change. She'd be unusually short with me on the phone, dismissive of my calls, or quick to end conversations. She'd suddenly be busy when I wanted to FaceTime, claiming she had stuff to do. She'd also start to dress differently. Not that I was some obsessive person, but I noticed she was wearing more makeup, tighter clothes, and she'd wear her hair differently, like she was trying to impress someone. One night, I started noticing some odd messages in her phone. I'd catch her typing late at night, and her eyes would dart around nervously when I walked into the room. It wasn't anything obvious at first, just little encrypted texts that didn't make sense. I brushed it off, thinking maybe she was talking to friends or something. But then I discovered the real signs. I was checking her phone one day, stupid, I know, and I found a string of encrypted messages. I couldn't read them at first, but I noticed a pattern. She was exchanging secrets with someone, and the tone was intimate, even flirtatious. That's when I started digging more. I installed a keylogger on her devices, and what I saw made my blood boil. She was cheating on me. Not just with some random guy, but with my own military buddy, Mike. I knew Mike pretty well. He was supposed to be checking on her well-being as part of our unit's family support system. His wife, Emily, even sent me the encrypted messages as part of an effort to keep her safe and connected during my deployment. I can't even describe how betrayed I felt when I saw what they'd been doing behind my back. The messages were full of lies and sweet nothings, mostly about their supposed connection and how much they wanted to see each other. Mike told her she was hot, and she'd reply with some bitchy remark about how she was so bored or tired of pretending to be perfect. They'd talk about meeting up once I got back, and she'd even said she'd wait for him because I was never around enough. It was like a punch in the gut. My own buddy, someone I trusted, was screwing my wife, and she was lying through her teeth, saying she loved me and that I was her everything. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I stayed up, staring at her phone, trying to process what I'd found. I kept thinking about all the times she'd dismissed me, all the times she'd been bitchy, and now I knew why. She'd been cheating on me with someone I'd considered a friend, someone I'd fought beside. That betrayal crushed me. I felt so angry, so hurt, and honestly like I did even recognize her anymore. The woman I married was gone, replaced by someone who lied, cheated, and played games. I didn't even know what she was capable of anymore. That's when I started planning my next move, what I was going to do about this mess. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of everything I'd uncovered. I knew I had to confront her, but I wasn't ready. I needed to think through what I was going to say, how I was going to handle the truth. I didn't want to just blow up without a plan. Still, I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I had to face her, face the betrayal, and see how she'd try to spin it. When Lisa got home that evening, she was her usual bitchy self. She snapped at me for no reason, acting like she was annoyed I was even there. I kept my calm, trying not to blow up right away. I waited until we were alone in the living room, then pulled out her phone and laid everything out on the table, showed her the encrypted messages, the timestamps, the names, and everything I'd found. Her face immediately went pale and her eyes started darting around nervously. "You've been cheating on me," I said flatly. My voice was cold, but inside I was boiling. I wanted her to own up, to admit what she'd done. Instead, she scoffed and rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, Jake, you're overreacting. You're always so paranoid. Just because you're overseas doesn't mean I'm sitting around crying for you. Mike's just a friend and you're making a big deal out of nothing," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. She brushed it off like it was some joke, like I was just imagining everything. But I knew the truth. I wasn't about to let her lie her way out of it. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Don't lie to me, Lisa. I saw the messages. You've been lying for months. How long has this been going on? Did you even love me anymore?" She crossed her arms, smirking. "Oh, come on, Jake. It's not what you think. You're gone all the time, busy with your stupid army stuff. Mike's just been there for me. And honestly, if you weren't always deployed, maybe you'd see how your perfect little wife gets lonely. Don't act like I'm some kind of monster." That made me feel like I'd been punched again. She was so bitchy, so dismissive. She was trying to make me feel guilty for her cheating, like her betrayal was somehow my fault. I could feel the rage building up, but I kept my voice steady. "You lied to me about everything. About us, about your feelings, about Mike. How long has this been going on? Were you even ever really faithful?" I demanded. She rolled her eyes again and leaned in, her voice sharp. "Look, I don't have to explain myself to you. I was bored, okay? You're never here, and Mike been there when I needed someone. Sex with him isn't some big deal, it's just sex. It doesn't mean I don't love you. You're overreacting because you're insecure." That's when I saw the true face of her. The bitchy, manipulative woman who would lie and cheat and then throw it back in my face with a poor me attitude. I felt my stomach turning, but I also felt something else, an overwhelming sense of betrayal. Everything I thought I knew about her, our marriage, was a lie. I realized I couldn't keep pretending she was innocent or misunderstood. She was a liar and a cheater, and I needed to figure out what to do next. In that moment, I understood I had two choices. I could forgive her and try to save what was left, or I could cut my losses and walk away. But I knew one thing for sure. I'd never look at her the same way again. Not after this. The trust was shattered and the pain was raw. I didn't sleep that night either, replaying all her lies, all her bullshit. I felt like I'd been knocked down so many times, but I also knew I had to stand up somehow. I just didn't know how yet. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't focus on anything except the fact that my wife had been cheating on me with someone I trusted, someone I'd fought alongside, shared drinks with, even confided in at times. The betrayal cut deep, and I found myself spiraling between anger, sadness, and disbelief. Every time I looked at her, I saw that bitchy smirk, that dismissive attitude, like she didn't give a damn about what she'd done. It made me want to explode, but I knew I had to stay calm, at least until I figured out my next move. I spent a lot of time alone, pacing around the house, trying to process how this could happen. How she could lie so effortlessly, dismiss everything like I was some paranoid idiot. I kept going back to that encrypted message from Emily, Mike's wife, who'd sent me the evidence to keep her safe from my suspicions. I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, caught in a web of lies, betrayal, and betrayal's aftermath. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I didn't see this coming. I was supposed to be the strong one, the soldier who protected everyone. Turns out, I was blindsided by the woman I thought I knew. I knew I had to confront Mike someday, but I wasn't ready yet. That would come, I decided, but right now, I needed to focus on Lisa and what she was capable of. I couldn't believe she was this manipulative, this cunning. She'd lied, gaslighted me, and played the victim all at once. Her excuses kept echoing in my head. She was bored, I was never around enough, Mike was just there for her. That she still loved me, but she just needed some attention. Yeah, right. I'd heard enough bullshit from her. One night I decided I wanted to test her, to see how far she'd go, how much she'd lie, how she'd spin her story. I told her I knew everything, that I had proof of her cheating. Her reaction was priceless. She immediately snapped at me, trying to deny everything again, throwing out cheap lies, saying it was all misunderstandings and nothing serious. She called me paranoid and crazy, like I was overreacting. That made me furious. I wanted to shake her and scream, but instead I stayed silent. The next day I started planning my revenge. Not some petty revenge, but something calculated. I wanted her to feel the same pain, the same betrayal I had. I decided I would gather all the evidence, screenshots, messages, the encrypted files, and make her see that I knew everything. I wanted her to realize she couldn't lie her way out of this. I also enlisted the help of a private investigator, someone who could find out more about her affairs, her lies, and maybe even get some proof of her cheating with Mike. I needed to make sure she understood that her games were over. While I was doing that, I was also preparing myself emotionally. I knew this was going to change everything, maybe even ruin us. But I was done being the fool. I wanted her to understand that her actions had consequences, that she couldn't just lie and cheat and expect everything to go on as if nothing happened. I was angry, hurt, and feeling betrayed beyond words. I wanted her to see that I wasn't going to be some doormat anymore. She'd pushed me to the edge, and I was ready to fight back. I kept telling myself that I deserved better, that my loyalty, my sacrifices meant something. She, taken all that for granted, and now she'd have to pay the price. Over the next few days, everything started to fall into place. The private investigator I hired came back with some shocking intel, proof that Lisa and Mike had been seeing each other quite openly behind my back. Photos, receipts, even eyewitness accounts. I couldn't believe how brazen they'd been. Mike's wife, Emily, had been trying to warn me for weeks, sending encrypted messages about his infidelity, but I'd ignored her because I didn't want to believe it. Now, looking at the evidence, I knew I couldn't deny the truth anymore. I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak. How could Lisa be so callous? How could she lie to me for months, pretend she was loyal, and then throw it all away for some stupid affair? I was furious that she'd been sleeping with my buddy, the guy I'd fought beside in dangerous situations, the guy I'd trusted. It was like a knife twisting in my gut every time I looked at her, knowing she'd betrayed everything we built. Still, there was also this sinking feeling of sadness. Maybe I'd been blind, maybe I'd missed the signs, but the reality hit hard. I was no longer married to the woman I thought I knew. One night, I decided I'd had enough of her bullshit. I sat her down, told her I had all the proof I needed, that I knew about her and Mike. I watched her face twist in contempt, then go into full-blown denial. She spat out ridiculous excuses, claiming she'd never cheated, that it was just texting and fake promises, that she was confused, and that Mike's wife was just making stuff up out of jealousy. She looked me right in the eyes and said, "You're overreacting. It's not what it looks like. You're just insecure because you're gone so much." I couldn't take her lies anymore. I felt the bitterness rising, and I snapped. I told her I knew about the sex, about how she was lying to my face. I told her I'd seen the pictures, the messages, the hotel receipts. Her reaction was pure bitchy defiance. She told me I was a jealous idiot, that she didn't care what I thought, and that I was just a dumb soldier who couldn't keep his wife happy. It was like she was trying to make me feel small, to make herself the victim again. But I wasn't buying it. I knew the truth, and I wanted her to finally acknowledge it. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to keep pretending that everything was okay, that I could fix this. I realized I had to do something drastic, something that would make her understand just how much she'd hurt me, how much her betrayal meant. I couldn't just walk away without leaving my mark, without making her feel the same pain she'd inflicted on me. I started planning my revenge, knowing that she'd try to spin her lies and deny everything, but I wanted her to know I wasn't going to let her get away with it so easily. This was about respect, about dignity, and about ending the game she'd been playing. In the meantime, I was also reaching out to Emily, Mike's wife. I wanted her to know that I appreciated her honesty, and I told her I'd do whatever it took to make Lisa see what she'd lost. My mind was racing, plotting the perfect way to expose her, to make her pay for the lies, for the cheating, for destroying what little was left of our marriage. I felt a tangled mess of anger, heartbreak, and a strange sense of clarity. I was about to turn the tables, and Lisa was not going to like what was coming. The day I decided to execute my plan, I felt a strange mix of relief and cold determination. I had all the evidence laid out, the messages, the receipts, the photos. I'd even gotten some recordings of her talking to Mike when she thought I wasn't listening. I wanted her to see that I was serious, that I was done playing her games. The first step was confronting her again, but this time I was prepared. I wanted her to understand that I knew everything, and that she couldn't lie her way out of this one. That evening, I called her into the living room. Her bitchy smirk was still there, like she thought she could manipulate her way out of it. I looked her dead in the eyes, pulled out my phone, and started playing the recordings. Her face fell. For a moment, she looked stunned, then angry, then defiant. She kept trying to talk her way out, claiming she was just curious, that she didn't mean anything, that she loved me. But I wasn't buying it. I showed her the photos, her and Mike, kissing, holding hands, sneaking around behind my back. I told her how I'd tracked her messages, how I even knew about the hotel. Receipts where she'd met him. Her eyes darted around, her arrogance slipping away. For the first time, she looked genuinely scared, like the full weight of her lies was crashing down on her. "You've been lying all along," I said quietly but firmly. "You slept with him, didn't you? All those times you said it was just sex, no big deal, that was just to keep your little secret. Well, I found out everything. You're not just a bitchy wife, you're a liar, a cheater, and a manipulator." She tried to deny it again, but it was meaningless now. I told her I was done being her fool. I told her I was filing for divorce, that I wanted to make sure she paid for what she did. I wanted her to understand that her actions had consequences. She screamed, called me crazy, said I was overreacting, but the truth was out. I'd caught her in her web, and there was no way back from this. That night marked the beginning of my new reality. I was hurt, yes, but also relieved that I finally knew the truth. I started packing my things, thinking about my next steps. I didn't want to be with someone who lied and cheated, who played me for a fool. I felt betrayed, but also stronger. I knew that I deserved better than this, someone loyal, honest, and who wouldn't betray me for some quick sex or to stroke her ego. As I looked at her, sitting there in her bitchy attitude, I realized I'd never be able to trust her again. Not after all this. She'd lost me, and I was never coming back. I had to rebuild, to move on, and to leave her behind with all her lies and betrayal. That's what I told myself. Life was about to change, and I was ready to face whatever came next. In the days that followed, everything moved fast. I filed for divorce, and I didn't hold back. I wanted her to feel the full weight of what she'd done, the lies, the betrayal, the manipulation. I made sure she knew I wasn't coming back, that I was done playing her game. Honestly, it hurt like hell to see her face when she realized I was serious. That bitchy smirk she always wore disappeared, replaced by a look of true panic. Good. She deserved to feel the way I had for months, betrayed, humiliated, and powerless. I moved out, took everything I needed, and left her standing there with her mouth hanging open. That moment felt like liberation. I realized that I'd been a fool for so long, giving her the benefit of the doubt, trusting her words instead of her actions. But deep down, I knew I'd been caught in a cycle that I needed to break free from. Her lies had poisoned everything we had, and I refused to be a victim of her manipulations anymore. Looking back, I can honestly say I learned a lot. I learned that trust is fragile, and that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who can hurt you the most. I also learned that you have to stand up for yourself, no matter how painful it might be at first. It's better to face the truth head-on than to keep living in denial, pretending everything is fine when it's not. As for Lisa, her life is probably a mess now. I don't care. She chose her path and I chose mine. I've started to rebuild my life, focusing on my career, my friends, and my own mental health. The pain of betrayal doesn't go away overnight, but I'm learning to live with it, to move forward. I hope she finally realizes what she lost, but honestly, I don't care anymore. I learned that sometimes the best revenge is simply walking away and never looking back. If there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's that you can't ignore the signs forever. Trust is earned, not given blindly. And when someone shows you who they really are, believe them. No matter how much you love someone, betrayal cuts deep, and sometimes the only way to heal is to cut the ties completely. Life is too short to waste on liars and manipulators. I'm finally free, and honestly, that feels pretty damn good.